I remember when I was in college studying real analysis, modern algebra, and all that snazzy pure math stuff. Compared to those classes, I cannot say that I've even struggled taking the so-called plug-and-chug math classes like calculus, differential equations, and so on. Don't get me wrong though, those classes also did take a lot of work. But those proof-based math classes, oh boy, those things just tore me apart. No matter how hard I tried, no matter how hard I studied, I just could never be good at it like I was with earlier math courses I took. But somehow, there's always this other student in the class who just crushes and seems to get it all. I went into full-on dramatic mode, seriously doubting whether I was qualified to study math at all. Earlier in my undergraduate years, I had daydreamed about grad school. But then I deplored the fact that I was struggling with proof-based courses that are considered elementary compared to grad-level work. Surely, if I were already struggling, I wouldn't survive there. I felt like I had lost the special ability that differentiated me from others, the ability to understand math no matter how hard it got, and, if I'm being honest, to feel smug about it. How unbearably ignorant and arrogant. Anyways, with higher level math, I started to form this love-hate relationship with it, like she whom I admired but who I could never reach because I was not good enough. I no longer felt like I was a math person. Today I realized that I was right. I am not a math person, at least in the sense that I meant years ago. You see, I implicitly had a highly unrealistic perspective of what a math person meant. I literally thought, deep in my subconscious, that being a math person meant being able to crush any mathematical challenge like it's anywhere between nothing to moderate and getting full A's in the way. I definitely had no chance. A lot of people from where I come from also tend to implicitly think that being a math person means being that person who just effortlessly slays every math problem. According to this view, a lot of students in middle and high school simply don't cut it. And that worldview about math drives us to believe that math is only for the chosen, predetermined, and the ones ordained by God before time. But frankly, as dramatic as it sounds, I think this is the worldview that my country, South Korea, implicitly conveys about math. And it is the worldview that my subconscious was exposed to. In South Korea, high school students often choose between a STEM track and a humanities track. That decision affects what they study, what they're tested in the Korean SAT, and sometimes even which colleges they realistically aim for. If you don't seem to have a knack for math in middle school, then the logic becomes, why bother with the STEM track? Over time, this creates a cultural idea that you must prove you're talented enough before you're even allowed to pursue STEM. And how do you prove that talent? By being a math problem slayer. I can't speak for every country, but many places treat math as a strictly merit-based activity. At least that's how I see it. Since academic success, where math plays a huge role, decides who gets into college, math starts to look less like a discipline and more like a precision sport. But what if you drop the schools, the grades, and the colleges from the picture? What if you just left math by itself? Think of some place like ancient Greece. Yes, academic prestige existed, but there were no standardized tests or GPA to bug us. I know it's a generalization, but if people studied math back then, they did it because they kinda had free time. In fact, they believe education was the ultimate use of one's free time. Our English word school actually originates from the Greek word skole, which literally means leisure. What would studying math mean then? What would it mean if there were no letter grades to define your worth, no classmates to compare yourself to? What would studying math mean if people around you said it's for free time? Perhaps our definition of a math person is just a specific interpretation created by a specific culture and a specific era. It's how we decided to label someone who engages with mathematics professionally or enjoyably. So, am I a math person? Well, it depends on what context we are saying math person. At the school where I teach math, probably. In grad school, if I work hard enough, maybe. In a math Olympiad, most likely no. In ancient Greece 2,000 years ago, well, I'm not sure. The point is, every culture has a different way of defining the right way to experience math. Can I really say I'm not a math person, that you're not a math person, because we don't experience math the way our current culture thinks we should? It depends.